Hi, Captain Charlie here again. Welcome to another episode of Bite Me Fishing. Today, I want to talk to you about thumpers. I'm going to cover the mechanical thumper and the manual thumper today, and I'm going to explain to you when I use which one and why. Let's get bit. So what is a thumper? A thumper is a mechanical device or a manual device that you use to make noise by bumping against the bottom of the boat. The mechanical thumper does it with some internal parts. The manual thumper, you're just using it to bump the bottom of the boat. You're creating noise in an effort to try to attract fish. Often, I stop on a spot that I've fished before, and there may not be any fish showing there at that time. If I start the thumper and give it 5 to 10 minutes, if they're there, they will respond. I can see them on my down scan and my live scope. I don't know what makes them respond, but my opinion is that they respond out of curiosity. If there are fish around, especially stripers, they will come to investigate the sound, especially if they're schooling. Often, I've had bass, crappie, catfish, any kind of fish respond to the same spot, but mostly it'll bring in stripers. If there are stripers around, I expect it to bring in fish. A mechanical thumper is often made in an ammo box. I use this particular one that I bought from Bass Pro Shops. It's easy to make a thumper that fits inside of it. It's a mechanical device, as you can see, with parts that run off of a battery. In my case, I have a cord that I can connect to the batteries in my boat. The internet has several videos out there that will show you how to build this particular unit or others that are similar. So I won't get into trying to show you exactly how I built it. But I've built 2 of these, and both of them work great. One of them's in the sea hunt boat. This one belongs in my pontoon boat. And I just recently completed this one. So here are the insides of mine. I hope that you can see, but it's got a hammer that is raised and lowered by this cam that is attached to an arm off of this seat motor. I bought the seat motor right off of Amazon, brand new, but it's to drive a seat in an automobile. With that, I put a controller for the speed of the motor so you can adjust the cadence of how fast or slow it goes. I also added a circuit right here that turns it on and off remotely using this tiny remote that I keep right on the helm of the boat. I added a switch here that allows me to turn it on and off. I put a light on it so I won't forget to leave it on because it will run your battery down. And what that's doing is powering this remote. So if you leave it on, it's a slow drain, but it will drain your battery down. Now that it's on, all I have to do to run it is turn it on and off with this. Let me set it down so it doesn't grab a hold of me. And that's what it does. It's real easy to use. It makes more noise than a manual thumper, depending on how you're using a manual thumper. But it's a very constant noise and consistent. My mechanical thumper works great. So now let's talk about manual thumpers. Manual thumpers are nothing more than a stick that is thumped against the bottom of a boat to create the noise that the mechanical thumper creates. However, when you're using a manual device, you have a lot more control over how it operates. Some people use pool cues, some people use sticks, some people use PVC, some people use garden tool handles. Any kind of stick can make a thumper. I tried the pool cue. I bought one just especially to do this, but I found it was very heavy. When you're doing this by hand and you're going to do it for several hours, the lighter this stick is, the more you'll appreciate not having a heavy stick. So after the pool cue, I had a walking stick that I'd made out of a sweet gum sapling. It's been around here for years. It's been laying outside. I used it in the boat for quite a few trips, but finally I stepped on it and it broke. So I had to go make me a new one. So I went out in my woods and found a small cedar sapling and cut it down and trimmed all the limbs off of it and used my knife to take all the bark off of it. This is what was left. It's very light. Hopefully, because it's cedar, it's going to last a while. So this is one way to make you a thumper that's very cost effective. There's really nothing in this in the way of cost. When you're using a mechanical thumper, it does require one hand to be free while you're doing the thumping. So I'll have that's why I like the thumb bar on my reel, so that I can control somewhat what I'm doing to try to adjust to where the fish are coming through. Quite often, you'll see me just lay the stick down while I'm thumping. When do you use a mechanical thumper versus a manual thumper? What I find is the mechanical thumper, when the water is deep, is quite often better because it makes a little more sound the way it's set in the boat. With the stick, I can make just as much sound as I really want to, but it's a lot harder to sit there and thump real hard for a long period of time. So the mechanical thumper, if it's real deep, that's one way to do it, to avoid having to sit there and do it. Other times, if the fish are actively feeding, this is fine. It'll bring them in and keep them in. Quite often, you'll find with the mechanical thumper that if you have a layer of bait fish, and you'll see this on some of my videos, you'll see the bait fish part. That doesn't mean the stripers have left, because those bait fish aren't far away, but the stripers will come back around quite often and not the bait fish. So I find that this does have its uses, and if it's scaring away the fish I want to keep there, I'll change. The other advantage of using a mechanical thumper is when the fishing gets pretty furious, you don't have to stop and worry about the thumper. It runs continuously. A lot of times, if you are using a manual thumper and you stop thumping, quite often those fish will leave. And the goal is to try to keep them there as long as possible and catch as many of them as you can. When I find that there's big schools of shad that I want to try to keep near the boat, I will take out my manual thumper and just thump lightly. Quite often, that's all that's necessary. It makes enough noise to cause the curiosity of the fish to come around. And you'll see it if you watch your electronics. If the water is more shallow, this is the way I like to go too, because you can adjust how hard you're thumping it very easily. You can adjust the cadence. You can stop every now and then, and stopping quite often will bring in more fish. Often I find when I'm using the mechanical thumper for long periods of time, it starts to grate on your nerves. And when it does that, this is the way to go. Get your manual stick out and just use it, because when you do catch a fish, you're going to set it down. There's going to be a little bit of quiet time in between the thumping. Thumping lightly quite often keeps the fish in the area a lot longer. That's the other reason I like to use the manual thumper. It's easy once you get the hang of it. As long as you got a light one, you can do it all day. So I encourage you to at least try this. The bottom line is thumping works. It works well, guys. I have caught a lot of fish using the thumper in conjunction with the live scope and the striper drop shot. The good thing about it is anybody can do this with just a stick. There's no investment required other than taking it with you and trying it. I think if you go out there and try this, you're going to love it. I do, and I do it almost every time that I'm striper fishing with live bait and my live scope. Until next time, this is Captain Charlie saying, go get bit.